Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee, and I'm with Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and I'm here today with my co-host. It's just me and him, and I just want to make sure I give a little bit of props to Hollis. He just got appointed to the 57th delegate district, which is is in the Charleston area, southwestern part, right?
Charleston, South Charleston, Dunbar.
Oh, okay. Tell me a little bit about, before we even get into anything else. Give me a little bit of background about kind of what you do, how you do it. You know, what does all that entail? So because I don't know, and there may be enough people out there that may not know also. What are some of the things that in that position you would actually have to do? What falls under your authority and all that kind of stuff?
Well, being a House member, like I said, we're in the West Virginia legislator. So you have the House of Delegates and you have the senators. You have 100 senators. You had about 30 I'm messing up. You got about 100 delegates and 30 senators. So far as what we do, the short and skinny of it, we draft bills. We vote on bills.
You have three bills. You have three bills. You brought three bills yourself.
Yeah, I brought a couple. I brought a couple more that sometimes you'll draft a bill and don't get taken up. Okay. I was co-sponsor on the creating the equitable right for expungement. I had a couple other ones that I co-sponsored and everything like that. And I even had one I made amendment to. So like I said, it's just a process of, helping our state create laws. Hopefully it's going to be for the betterment of, West Virginians. Is
there one that you could kind of talk about that you think is something that you think is important? Is that something that you can say and talk about just a little bit to?
Well, the one, like I said, it's the I forget the exact House bill number, but it's creating the equitable right to expungement. So the short and skinny of it is that when you get arrested or somebody gets arrested, normally they'll have a rap sheet, right? They'll have a criminal background that states all of their arrests. A lot of times what happens is that it just states the time that you had these interactions with law enforcement. It doesn't necessarily distinguish whether you've been was this charge dismissed, was this convicted? There's no. It's just
listed.
Yeah, just a list. So what this law does is that it allows this person to get those charges which were either dismissed or just charged and never convicted on off their record, so that doesn't show up on a background check, because it can become a bit discriminatory. Like I said, if I'm looking at a rap sheet and you got 50 charges and arrests, I don't know which one's which. So a lot of times, whether it's judges, prosecutors, or whoever, they just looking at it, she's like, man, you've had all these interactions with law enforcement. Something's wrong. Yeah. So so I can speak on that. Like I said, this being my freshman year as a delegate, I try to stay in my lane. I did a lot of criminal justice stuff, so that's kind of where I just stuck to.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I find it interesting, but again, I'll go back to, meeting you at West Virginia State. And it was always kind of clear that you were going to be into something. You know what I'm saying? Like you have that demeanor that comes with you that fit you as a quarterback, obviously as a guy who's going to be a leader, and then it just and then the way you approached your academics and those kinds of things, it just seemed like, while you played sports, that wasn't necessarily your go-to. Yeah. Your go-to was the academic side, and clearly it shows. So I just wanted to give you those props.
No, I appreciate it.
So we got we're going to talk a little bit about the draft, but I think one of the interesting things that, because me and Coop were talking about it a little bit earlier, and we discussed a couple different things. I was trying to get a couple folks from Marshall to try to get on the show today, because there was a possibility of some guys getting drafted or maybe even potentially free agents. And what I wanted, I was hoping we would be able to do was to try to get a feel from what do they feel like now, like right in this moment now. You're about a week out. What are you thinking? What are you doing? Are you working out? What's all these kinds of things? Unfortunately, they couldn't do it. So I just figured that we would kind of go back to, and again, I'm not sure, and I'm gonna put this out there as cautionary, that how players think now, how they feel now might be different. But we were going to talk more about. You had some questions for me about what it was for me and how it was and those types of things. So I'm gonna turn it over to you and kind of lead the show for the day.
Well, okay. So starting, I guess my first question is that starting in your senior year, was it pretty apparent that you were headed to the NFL, or was it you still had stuff to prove during that senior season in order to even be considered?
I wasn't sure. I had some scouts come, and scouts can come. They have areas that they got to go and see, and if there's a player, if there's a name that's there, they want to go see them. May watch them practice. They didn't really like work you out or anything like that, but they just kind of watched you practice, said that they were there. And they're not specifically to a team. They're a regional scout. Yeah. So, they're scouting for different teams.
So were they coming to see you specifically, or just coming to see like a collection of players?
It's usually a collection. It was usually a collection of players. Fortunately or unfortunately, for the most part, it would probably be. Most of the time, it was me.
Okay. So you were the only one drafted out of your
out of that class. Yeah.
Okay. So like going into that season, and when we actually start talking about playing, knowing that NFL was your goal, knowing that you have these scouts around, did that add any pressure to your performance during that season?
Yes, it did. But it was more than the pressure. It was motivation to put in more work.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden now, even if that guy's a regional scout, he's going to go back and say something to whatever region he's in. Yeah. We think this guy's okay. We think he's a possibility. Whatever that case may be, whatever he takes away is that's going to lead to somebody else coming back or somebody not coming. Mm-hmm. So to have that happen, it changed the whole. It was an uptick in the training, the workout, the thought process. Every game that you were going to play in that senior year, all of those kind of things, you were thinking, man, I got to have a great senior year now.
So, just with that, even if it's not, outwardly, just with that internal pressure, did that like positively or negatively affect your play on the field? That's the actual play.
It was positive for me. It was positive, but I know where you're heading on that. Yeah. It made me think every game. Like, man, you can't give up nothing.
For some people that could that pressure waves and it would mess them up.
I was a little crazier, because again, I was so wrapped up into football, like it was everything, man. So I kind of liked the idea of having that pressure to make me want to play even harder. Because we weren't winning, but I was still going to. I mean, I knew I had to play hard. My dad was not going to let me not play hard and be the best player I could be.
And you were a safety at that time.
Yes.
So being a safety, and if you're not winning, you don't have a great defense. You kind of gotta be that guy.
Yeah, because
you don't really have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah,
because there's going to be more. And again,
more opportunities.
Yes, I led the tackle. I led us in tackles.
You led in tackles in
3 of the 4 years I was there.
Wow. You led in tackles.
Led in tackles.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, it just was what it was, and how that was, and so I knew I was going to make plays. So now, my dad was in the mindset of, because again, we shared that same dream, so, after the game, the next day after the game, we're at the breakfast table and he's talking about this particular tackle. You need to make this tackle a little bit different.
This was in college?
Yeah, this was in college. He didn't miss, he missed one game in college. That was Mississippi State. Because he couldn't find anybody to drive down and back, and he wasn't sure he could drive all the way down and come back. So I'm meeting him at the breakfast table the day after the game. I'm at the breakfast table the day after the game, and we talking about a couple of plays.
Okay.
So, and the good thing about that, though, was because it never – because I'm thinking, man, I made an interception, I got a fumble, or I made this big hit or whatever, and I'm thinking I'm golden. Yeah. He's looking at just the plays that were not the right plays.
Yeah, and I think that mindset works particularly, like I said, if you have higher aspirations. Because if you have higher aspirations and you have the work ethic to go with that those conversations work because you're striving almost to do things perfect. You're right. You're striving almost not necessarily for perfection in totality, but to do that tackle perfect, but to do these particular tasks perfectly. So going back to your work ethic, what outside of what you were doing with the team, particularly during that season year, what was the work ethic off the field, just by yourself?
I would, and again, prior to the season, man, I
want to talk about in season. I'll talk about off season in a minute, but just in season.
In season, when we're you don't do anything. Quote, I wasn't doing anything at quote extra. Yeah. But weights was a new thing, and it was new to me, and so I ate them up. Because again, I get to Marshall. I leave high school at 55. I get to Marshall at 64, and I got a little plastic weight set, and now I'm at Marshall, and they just getting weights. And anytime that I could get in there and do some work, I'm doing work. Anytime that I could do running, I could do you got conditioning. Man, I'm not gonna be last. I'm not gonna be. I'm the guy that's trying to get everything out of that practice.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I wanted everything out of that practice because you don't really have time to do anything really extra because as soon as practice is over, you go eat. Yeah, you got your meetings, and by the time you got study hall, and then bed check.
Yeah, because I think that's one thing that struck me about a Deion Sanders, and I say this even about a Randy Moss, where if you hear them talk specifically just about practice, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, right? You hear these guys talk I'm not talking about what they do in the offseason or what they're doing by themselves. I'm talking about specific practice. It struck me, even a guy like Deion Sanders, I'm thinking these guys are just uber talented. They're not really going hard in practice, but these guys are going hard in practice. And I think that's one of those things that's, could be overlooked by some athletes who don't understand how important practice is.
I think it's, and and you're exactly right. And the person that hurts the most is that talented kid.
It hurts them the most.
It hurts them the most because they feel or you can take the approach, I'm the best player on the team. One of the best players on the team. I can just kind of go through practice, and do what I do, score 2-3 touchdowns in the game, and life is fine. No. There's no place, there's no time, there's no place that you cannot give your all. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, if you were going to go against me in 7-on-7 in Minnesota, bro, like we ain't gonna like each other. You know what I'm saying? If you in 7-on-7 and you run a slant route and I'm coming down from a safety spot, bro, I'm hitting you.
Yeah, see, and
I may try to help you up. You may not want me to help you up. You mad, bro? But I got somewhere I'm trying to go.
And this was the same thing you were doing in Marshall.
Yeah.
So okay, so to add on to that, because I think when we look at a guy like, for example, Allen Iverson, right? Mm-hmm. And he had, it's just practice, da-da-da-da-da. But I think even him probably looking back at his own career, if you hear any of his interviews, he would probably concede that I believe if he would have been like a hard worker, he probably would have been the greatest NBA player of all time, his size and skill set. So with you having that mentality at Marshall, particularly during that senior year, going hard in practice with guys who aren't necessarily going where you're going as far as the NFL is concerned, did that create any animosity between you and your teammates?
I mean, I had dudes laughing at me in the cafeteria, like specifically, I remember this, like guys are sitting at, and because I'm the dude who's going to say it, like, bro, I'm going to NFL. Yeah. I'm here for the NFL. Yeah. Brother, this is Marshall, 80, 81, 82.
And it's not the Marshall we know now.
It's not the Marshall we know now.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't know if there was anybody post plane crash had gone. I don't, somebody had said I was the first. I don't know if that's a fact, but I don't know anybody who had gotten drafted.
So at the point you're there, there's not a big legacy of Marshall guys going to the NFL.
There's no. And the group that I came in with, which was a Sonny Randall group, and Bob Pruitt was there, we didn't have nobody. We hadn't had anybody, any of our seniors when we were freshmen. None of our seniors even get a glimpse or any of that. I think there was a couple guys there was some mumbling around, like a dude named Mike Natale, big dude. But nothing. Okay. Nothing came.
So far as your teammates, like how was that? How
they
was
thought
those
I was
relationships?
crazy. They thought it was crazy. Like they was like, man, you at Marshall, we ain't winning no games, and I think the problem is with people is that they think that winning. I guess maybe winning helps.
Winning helps. It helps.
But it can't. But it don't hurt you either. No.
It depends. It depends on. No, but
it depends on you.
It depends on you.
It depends on you. You can let it hurt you.
You can let it.
And if you go down to, that sounds bad, but I'm gonna leave it there. If you go down to the level of where that team is,
no doubt.
You're not coming out of there.
But I think. Like I said, and we've talked about this before, I think there's like elite talent. I would say like a Randy Moss or Deion Sanders, right? Elite talent. But then there's elite work ethic. And you probably are an example of someone who had elite work ethic. So it may have not mattered where you've gone, you particularly, you could have maybe went to Fairmont or State. The path may have been a little longer, but I think you probably would have found your way to where you ultimately went. So, and I guess the question I'm specifically asking is that if you're in practice, you have this mindset with a bunch of guys who don't necessarily have this mindset. You're going 1,000 miles an hour in practice. I'm saying that those sort of competitions create like, man, Carl, calm down. Like, chill, bro. Like, what you doing?
Yes, that comes to you, especially 7-on-7, 1-on-1s, tackle drills and stuff. And that's back when that goes back before you hitting in practice.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, to me, like I'm fine with that. Let's hit, and God forbid if there's a scout there, you know what I'm saying? And I had a buddy, his name was Gilbert Orr, we called him IW. He was a running back. And bro, he wanted to be in the league as well. Every time a scout came and we did like tackling drills against the running backs, right? He was going with me, and which was perfect for me because I know he was trying to get his look. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get a look. Somebody got to win that.
Yeah.
And so that type of competition in the moment when there's a scout there.
Yeah.
and not saying he didn't go all the time, but for sure, because
you turning it up.
Yeah, he's turning it up. So basically, everybody's trying to turn it up.
Yeah, you turning it up. Yeah, you turning it up if you know somebody watching.
I automatically knew he was going to go every time I got up to make the tackle, and that was perfect for me. Because there was no question I'm going to go as hard as I could go. So if somebody else was going to be just kind of like just easing through practice and I'm hitting them, bro, we probably got an argument. We got a discussion at least at dinner. Bro, what's going on with you? Why are you acting like that in practice? Why are you doing that? Bro, my whole thing was like, look, I'm trying to get to Sunday, man. And anybody that's in the way, anybody that's within reach, bro, I got to hit you. Yeah. It ain't personal. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I looked at it as great a friend as me and you can be, bro, you can't be bigger than my dream.
Yeah.
And so and again, if you trying to come at me and to make a point for yourself.
So, okay, let me ask this. So, during this senior year, you done had scouts comes, you're kind of what I think probably, and maybe you might agree with me, you're on the cusp of knowing something's about to, like if you play good, you're going to have a shot. You're going to have a legitimate shot.
Yes.
So during that senior, and I'm just talking about specifically that senior season, did you have like a NFL moment? Did you have a aha moment like, okay, was there a game? Was there a tackle? Was there a play that just stood out during that season?
Actually, yes, but it wasn't on the positive side.
Okay, go ahead.
It wasn't on the positive side. I think it was Appy State. I hadn't given up any touchdowns. We were in cover 2, ran a corner route. I didn't get over.
Okay.
And, so I'm chasing the dude.
If you don't know, cover 2, if you're playing safety, you have half the field.
You got half the field, and the corner is helping you.
Yeah.
But he's going to be underneath it. You got to be over the top of it. Mm-hmm. And, and I'm still tackle oriented in my head. I'm looking for them to run the ball. So I end up getting caught short. They catch it, get a touchdown. Coach Randall, right, he met me probably at the far hash mark and was cussing me the whole way. And he told me, he said, you blew it. You blew it. You blew your opportunity. That's it. You ain't going to go. Because he knew. Everybody knew. And so he used that. And bro, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, one play? I gave up one play and that's enough? And the reality of that is I do think that there's some truth to that. Mm-hmm. How bad is that play? But everybody knows that plays cover 2. Everybody knows that's post corner get you. It's a possibility. But
if you get caught peeking too.
Yeah. And I was a peeker, and so that bothered me, and it bothered me for the rest of that season.
Let's dig into that, because what I find interesting, and we're going to move this along, but what I find interesting is that you were able to respond to that level of, I guess some people would, nowadays just call it pure negativity or negative reinforcement. Because I know for some people, that's not necessarily going to work with them. What did he know that was going to work with you? And was it a situation in which you kind of thrived off that?
It was him. That was just him. Okay. You do something wrong, he's cussing you out.
I get the cussing. I guess what I'm saying is just like, you blew your chance. That's kind of like, wow, it's in the moment. Relax, coach.
I think, I think that was a bit much in hindsight. I think that could have been a bit much, but he knew how to trigger me.
Okay.
He knew how to trigger me. He knew that it was going to be something that was going to be relatable to me. If nobody else, me and him.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Right. When you're saying you blew it. You know, that's it. You ain't getting the shot. I'm like thinking, like, one play? Mm-hmm. Right? I even tapped out once and he went crazy. You know, I tapped out one game. Which is why I never. I did it. I hit my helmet, tapped on the helmet.
But those don't know tap. You just need you hit your helmet. You
that
need
means
a break.
you're tired.
Yeah, you need a break.
And bro, I've never, ever tapped out again.
Okay.
Bro, he cussed me so bad. Bro, I'm over there getting ice on my shoulder. You know, they put ice down my back and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like thinking, and he's just coming back there like just cussing, yelling, screaming at me, like, you know, you need to be in the game. Da 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 da. And I'm like. I'm like, I'm dead, you know, but it didn't matter. But for me, I needed that. That's kind of what I needed. But I think the biggest thing that I think the point that you're trying to get is that negativity, as harsh as it is,
yeah,
it's nowhere close to that now. No coach is being that harsh as they used to be.
I don't even know if you can be.
Yeah, you
legally.
can't be. Yeah, you can't be.
You don't want to get yourself in trouble.
But you need to take that. You need to take that personal. And when I say personal, not personal to you as an individual, but personal to you as a game. We'll hold right there and we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.
Sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Carl Lee at letstalk@promessage.com, Dale Cooper at dcooper@wvradio.com, or call 304-342-8131. Ask Carl a question or comment on current or previous episodes. Visit Let's Talk Carl Lee on Facebook. Like, rate, and subscribe from your podcast service to help more people find Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, we're back off of a quick break, and as Hollis is drilling me.
So we're at the point. Okay, you had now just quickly. You had a pretty good season that senior year, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. You remember any of your stat line from that senior?
No.
Okay.
I know that I only gave up one touchdown.
One touchdown.
Yeah.
Okay. How many you have picks, tackles, anything like that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember any of that. But I did lead the team in tackles that senior for sure. My senior year.
And as far as accolades, you made all conference. Any All-American considerations?
I think there was like a second team or something like that.
So
but it was but it
so
wasn't
All-American
major.
consideration. So you had some accolades behind your name. So you did something. That might be a little unconventional, I guess, nowadays, maybe not so much then. But after that football season, you decided to run track. So explain that decision.
Again, any and every possible option that I could find to make me better, I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you have to do, as everybody knows, when you go to the combine, so I'm already thinking combine, I'm already thinking coaches coming in working me out, you got to run that 40.
Yeah.
And, football don't necessarily get you fast.
Yeah, definitely not.
And
get you
so
conditioned, but
it gets you conditioned, but it may not get you fast.
Yeah.
And so my first thought was, okay, I'm gonna run track so that I can get faster. Mm-hmm. And not just that, but in shape. And then when I get to track, the coach ends up having me running the quarters, and
so that's the 400.
Yeah, and I'm like thinking,
that's that man race. I call that.
And I wasn't winning. I wasn't winning whether it was the 100, 200, or quarter, even the relays.
So that's what you ran. So what all events you ran? The quarter.
I ran the quarter, the 200, and the 100, and I ran indoors as well. And then we ran the relays.
Okay.
And I didn't, I ran, I was like third and fourth in some of those,
okay. Competing, but
I wasn't winning, because these dudes are just straight, they track guys,
Okay.
And so, but for me, being faster, being quicker, being in shape all of that, because I was like, Coach, I can't do a 400. And then, as you know, I ended up, my training was all quarters. It was all quarters.
And I tell you what, like I remember the summer I ran with you. There's no other way. Like if you're an athlete, particularly at a elite high school level, college level, get them quarters in. Because that's going to take you there, and it take you there mentally as well.
That's the point that I really want to make is when you have to run when you running 400s with like what, minute and a half or something. So
yeah, it's like a minute 10, I think.
Yeah, something like that on a as a break, and then you run another one, and then you run another one, and then you run another one.
Well, and I'm talking about the minute 10 is what you got to run the 400 in, and then you get like
you get a little bit of a break, like
45
minute 45, 2 minutes maybe,
something like that.
You that's shape. That's being in shape, and I'm telling you, you'll be shocked. I would make the case that there's very few young athletes today could even do those 4-4.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
and then you're going right to the twos, and then you're going right to the twos and to the hundreds.
Yeah.
That, I mean, it's a huge challenge, but I loved it.
So you ran track to get prepared for the draft. Now, did you get invited to the combine? Did you have a pro day? How was that process?
I had several. So you get the regional scouts coming in. In my senior year, I started getting the scouts from the team. Some of the scouts from the teams came in, and then I ended up going to Seattle. I only went to one combine, and that was in Seattle.
Okay, so you didn't go to like the Indianapolis combine, the big combine that all the players, the invite.
Yeah. Well, all of them were invites. All of them you had to get an invite to. There were a number. I don't know how many there are now, but there were a number.
No, I'm talking about just the main one, the primary combine.
No, I went to Seattle.
So you went to the teams' different workouts.
No, there was all teams. There was still the same teams. You know, there was still going to be the same kind of teams that were going to. It's not just Seattle.
Okay, gotcha.
It was just held in Seattle.
Okay, so you went to a combine in Seattle.
I went to one of the combines in.
Okay, so they had multiple combines.
Yeah, they had multiple ones.
Okay,
and so
they still do it. Do they do
I don't know.
I don't know. I think they do the pro days and the. I could be wrong on that point.
Well, see, usually what I know of when I think of pro day, that's a pro day when they're coming to the school.
Coming to the school, yeah, that's what I'm.
You know, and so I had probably. Maybe three or four teams that had come, and I'm not gonna remember the names of the teams that came. I maybe had like 3 or 4 teams that had came to do a pro day and had me work out.
And this is individually or
this was individual.
So you had about 3 or 4 pro days, and then you had the combine in Seattle.
Yes.
Okay. And how does anything you remember stand out specifically about those, tryouts, if you will?
The combine was, and here, what bothered me in the combine, I ran first because I was number 1. They went in your numeric number, and I wore number 1 at Marshall. So now I'm running first. I'm from Marshall, and bro, like there's all these dudes, that. All these names of people who are going to be running after me. And I'm thinking, and I got to run first. And I ended up running a 4.5, which was the slowest I had run. I had run 4.4s for most of all the scouts that had come in. I hadn't run a 4.5 anything for any of the scouts that had come in. Ended up running 4.5. Now, maybe that was just a stricter clock.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be, because, it can be different.
Yeah, but I mean, even at that time, we're talking the early 80s, that was pretty
it was pretty good. Because if you were running 4.4 back in that day, you were running.
Elite. Yeah.
And so I did, outside of the running, I did pretty decent at the combine. We did some different kind of stuff. And again, and an interesting component to that too is they're talking about corner in the league, and I had played safety.
Oh, so even at this early stage, they're talking about corner right now.
Yes. I was going into the draft as a corner.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody had looked at me as a safety.
Okay.
So,
and do you remember like the rationale behind that? What were the reasons? Did you even ask?
it was long. The corners were starting to get taller.
Yeah, like the Mel Blount.
Yeah, they were starting to get taller and longer, and so I wasn't like a Ronnie Lott built guy. You know, I was thin. I was, you know,
the safeties back then were like linebackers.
They were like linebackers, and they hit like linebackers.
Yeah,
so
they sure did.
So that was their move. That was everybody's, because nobody saw me as a safety. So the standard for me now was just trying to fit into that corner makeup and speed and all of those kinds of things. You know, you have, you know, in the combine and you're doing the shuttles and stuff like that, all those kind of stuff. That's a footwork. That's, you know, that's showing whether or not you got the right proper footwork. You can change direction and all that kind of stuff, which was kind of crazy for me that I ended up being okay in those, because I did play safety most of the time.
And that's my next question, because I'm not going to, you know, it's not necessarily a dramatic shift per se, but I think that if you're looking at it in its time capsule, like I said, safeties were like these hitters. They were linebackers who were coming down because it was a run heavy oriented offenses during that time. So to convert from a safety to a corner was that's a pretty major shift. So mentally, like, what was going on with you when you knew that, hey, my safety days are over and I'm playing corner?
Well, it actually kind of worked for me in my mind, because now as a corner, I could be physical. I don't have no problem running up.
Okay,
I don't have no problem going up making a solo tackle. You know, I'm not gonna shy away from that.
What about coverage?
I didn't know any of that. And to be honest, if we don't go to bump and run, I'm not sure that my career stays where it is.
Okay.
I think it
allows you to be physical.
Yes. And because my first year I ended up playing, I did play corner my first year. So my second year, I ended up starting at safety for 1 year.
And you talking about in the NFL?
In the NFL, and I clearly knew that it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't man enough to and I'm saying free safety, not even strong safety.
Yeah.
You know, bro, you know, you've heard the story, bro. Peyton breaks up the middle, man, and like, bro, I'm looking at him. Bro, that ain't a matchup.
Yeah, I mean, because you gotta people. I think people gotta remember the '80s were, as much as we talk about the quarterbacks, the '80s was really about the running backs. You talking about the Earl Campbells, the Peytons, the Christian Okoyes. I mean, it was just the Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith. It was just a bunch of like just elite Thurman Thomases, just a bunch of elite running backs. Even guys, those second tier guys were just Neil Andersons. You know, they were just really, really good.
They might as well be like linebackers or DNs.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. And again, you had great quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. You had all the great quarterbacks, all the Hall of Fame quarterbacks, receivers, all of them, tight ends, everybody. I mean, it was a phenomenal group of players that came in that era, just in that window.
So getting back, so you having your pro days, you going to the combine in Seattle. Now, are you just done with school at this time? How does it? Are you still taking classes? What's that like?
I ended up like shutting off of all my classes.
Now you back home? Or you still on campus?
I'm still on campus because I was just still on campus, staying in the dorm, because all the contact information, you know, was through Marshall.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
even though I'm only 45 minutes down the road, I was just there, and I canceled all my classes that final semester, you know, because I didn't want anything to get into the way.
Now, are you getting support from the athletic department, from the football team, like during this draft process? How does that work?
Yes, I mean, had Bob Pruitt there. I had you may not know this name, Waverly Brooks, and Sonny, and they're giving me, this positive feedback. In, Pruitt told me that I was going to make it and that I was going to be good. And I'm like thinking, because one of the coaches was talking about how different it's going to be from Marshall to there, and I think Pruitt may have took it as, okay, but that's more on the negative side. You're giving him negative feedback. And so he ended up turning around and saying, "No, don't worry about it. You're gonna make it, and you're gonna be good."
And then Pruitt has spent some time in the league as well.
Yeah,
as a player.
So he, and I think Pruitt is just that positive.
Yeah,
he's gonna inspire you to be the best that you can be.
So you had like a yin and a yang.
Yeah, it was just a little bit because some people again because I'm talking I've got scouts and stuff coming and then some teams brought in coaches to come in and talk to you, work you out a little bit, all that kind of stuff. So when you start talking about team folks showing up, now you're talking something serious.
All right, so you put in all this work. You played 4 seasons at Marshall. Now it's draft day. Where were you at? What was going through your head? Where'd you get drafted? Kind of walk us through that day.
I had an apartment on the west end of Huntington, and me and Donna, my wife now, we were staying off campus. It was down on the west end, and I was like, look, I need to be by myself because
okay.
I need
so
to be.
You ain't get around moms.
No. I stayed in Huntington.
Okay.
I stayed in Huntington and stayed in just this little apartment by myself. And because my thing was,
because you didn't know whether you were going to get drafted or not. Oh, but hold up. And before we say that, did you hire an agent at this point?
No.
So you didn't have an agent?
No.
Nothing. Okay.
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
No.
I'm sorry.
That'll be an interesting story too. So I don't know. I had heard, somewhere between 3 and 5, possibly. Depending on the run of the corners. If there's a run on the corners, then everybody, once somebody gets one, everybody gonna jump and start trying to get the best ones that's on the board. Okay, not saying that I was one of the best ones on the board, but just saying so that could be a higher pick. Well, so it was 2 days. I think that might have been when they first split it up. So, man, I'm sitting there and it's all day. I'm sitting there and I'm,
Now you watching TV or you listen to the radio?
No.
What you doing?
I'm waiting on the phone to ring.
Oh, so you ain't doing nothing.
Mm-mm. I'm sitting at the crib and I'm just waiting on the phone to ring.
Okay, so
I had about 3 calls of people calling. No, it wasn't on.
Oh, it wasn't on.
No.
Okay, it's not on live.
No, it's not on live.
Oh,
no,
okay.
That's back in the day.
Dang, so this is wild.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting there waiting on a call. I'm just waiting on the call. And I got like 3 calls from people like, bro, you heard anything? Bro, no, don't call me.
Don't call me.
Yeah. Leave me be. I promise you, if I get a call, you gonna know.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm sitting there. And it was like, this is not exactly the right kind of time, but it's like just a little bit before 5, and that's the last round.
Okay.
That's happening. So I'm thinking, all right, I ain't go today. Next thing I know, phone rings, and since I speak to Carl Lee, and I said speaking, and he said this is Jeff Diamond from the Minnesota Vikings. Could you hold? And our general manager will be on the line. And I'm like falling out. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, trying to be cool on the phone, but everything inside of my body was jumping out. Like I was like, man, this cannot This cannot be happening. After all this work, this can't be happening. You know, even though I wanted it, even though people said, okay, you're going to have a shot at it, to get the call, was like, I'm waiting on this dude to get back on the phone. Mike Lynn gets back on the phone and says, congratulations, the Vikings picked you. You know, we picked you in the 6th round or 7th round, our 6th pick.
So you were 7th round, 6th pick.
Because they didn't have, they didn't have a 6th pick. And again, some of the conversation had been about talking about a little bit earlier, but I didn't really care
as long as you went.
As long as I went.
Okay.
And so, and bro, like I said, I was miserable. Because I'm thinking we at the end of the day, man. And so that was their last pick that was the last, I don't know if it was the last pick of the draft that day, but it was the Vikings' last pick of that day. And so, you know, they gave me the information about when we'd be there, blah, 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 blah. And they say we'd be in contact. And man, I hung up the phone. And man, I couldn't wait to get back to campus. You know, I couldn't wait to get on campus, you know, because, and bro, from that day, the following day, bro, I'm working.
You went right, to the lab?
Bro, I'm working. Bro, I'm putting time in. You know, I'm putting time in. You know, because, you know, you can't get that call and sit home.
Yeah. What was your father's reaction?
Oh, he was, bro, like, everybody was like, I mean, because it was, Brad, like, it's like, it was incredible. It was like unbelievable that this is actually happening. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing about that piece of it is we ain't made it. Ain't nobody made the team or nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You got drafted and you get caught
people
up.
Forget that part.
They forget. Like, you just think like you there. If you if you were Randy Moss and you were first round pick, you
that's
are
different.
there.
Yeah, but you got about 3 years at least.
You start talking about down in 7th round, 6th. You know, 6th pick, 7th round, bruh.
You gotta make the team.
You gotta make the team. You and not only that, you gotta find a spot to make the team on.
That's true.
That could be special teams or whatever.
That's true.
You know, I wasn't a special teams guy. You know, I did punt cover. You know, that type of stuff. But kickoff, you know, bruh, they threw me on kickoff.
So I mean, but how was your father's reaction? Oh,
he was. I mean, it was crazy. Like, I don't even know. And it's a shame because I don't even know if he said anything to me specifically about like congratulations or anything like that. I think he was more like me. Like we done it.
Oh, it's like we done it now. Now we got to get to work.
Yeah, we got to get to work.
Okay.
You know, I don't think he was like.
It wasn't like.
I would have liked to have thought like I knew. You know, but I was going to get there.
He was like super excited.
Yes, I'm sure he was, but he wasn't going to give it away.
Yeah, okay, got you.
He wasn't going to give that away. Now
so
this is a matter of
what about, you know, the coaching staff and at Marshall, teammates, people around? How was that? I would say, like that next couple of days to a week? Because now it's in the papers, it's on the news, so now everything's out. And everything you've been broadcasting and telling people you're going to do, you did it.
Yeah. I've almost done it.
Well, you did it and you got drafted.
I got drafted.
You made it there. Now, whether you stay there is a different
That's a different story, yeah. I think campus was kind of like, you know, all my guys were like, I think, totally shocked. And again, they're giving you the pat on the back and all that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of them didn't a
little hate.
Yeah, there was some hating going on, but you know, that is what it is.
That comes with the territory.
That comes with the territory.
Yeah.
And actually, and I won't say the name, but I know there was one brother for a fact that was straight hating. You know, he was straight hating even when the conversation was talking about getting drafted.
Yeah, and it was that a trip, just kind of seeing that people just really didn't believe you was going to make it. Like it was, and then you pop up, poof, and you actually.
You know what? Oddly enough, for the people who let's just say it was you, people who I was really friends with, who I know. Mm-hmm. I can't blame you for questioning or doubting peace.
That's fair.
You know
That's
what I'm saying? I can't be mad at you. I can't end my friendship with you because you can't see me being, bro, you play with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you ain't see me like I could be playing on Sunday.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Now the folks, a couple of people personally I know was, so the first thing is he ain't getting drafted. Now the second thing is he ain't gonna make the team. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you got that one person who's always going to put a negative
spin on it.
Something.
Yeah.
He can't celebrate. He can't celebrate at any point because he already know. Okay, so he got drafted. It's seventh round. He ain't gonna make it. Seventh rounders don't make it.
That guy.
Yeah, there's always that guy.
Yeah.
And so having that, But again, for me, I'm turned into working out.
So okay, so at that point you get drafted, so your mind immediately is switching to like, okay, now I got to make the squad. You understood that from the gate.
Yeah.
That this wasn't automatic, like you just get the check, get the team, and all that.
I was excited. I was super excited about the idea of being drafted and I'm going to an NFL team.
Yeah, that's tight.
But I knew I wasn't done.
Okay, so at this point, are you getting did you hire? Are you getting it directly with the team? Do you hire like a trainer? Like how's are you just going on your own?
I'm just doing it on my own. Because there really wasn't trainers back then. Weights were new. It was still kind of a new thing. So I spent most of my time, running physically, trying to get in shape.
So draft is in April. I would imagine it's April then?
Yes.
April, March?
Yeah.
And when do you first have to report?
We had to be in I think it was like May. We had mini camp.
So you had about a month, couple weeks, something like that?
Yeah. And bro, I was trying to, when you say mini camp, I don't know what mini camp is. That's just a short version of camp. They just want to see what you can do and introduce,
Because some players get messed around and get cut in, right?
You don't get cut there, but you can either make a mark.
You get those demerits.
Yeah. And so we were going to, if in my mind, I'm going to be on the field, I got to play.
Got to play, compete.
And I got to be there. I got to be in shape. I got to be there. So I did everything I could possibly do to be in the best shape that I could be. And by the time I got to Marshall, bro, I'm 180 something now. So I didn't put on weight. I'm pumped up, ripped up, and can feel comfortable about running and all that kind of stuff. My whole conversation was, ain't no way they're gonna break me.
So far as the physical side, you seem to kind of been prepping yourself your whole life for that. I'm wondering just about the mental side, not emotional. I'm just talking about straight technical when it comes to actually being able to grasp the conceptual schemes that the NFL would present. Because I know some guys I know who couldn't get that part of it, and they found themselves outside the league. So how were you able to, how fast were you able to grasp those concepts?
To be honest, it was relatively easy to me because I was football based.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
You studying?
Yeah, I was man, I'm watching games and and I'm trying to figure out whether or not they cover 3 or what they in. All of that kind of stuff. I was prepared to, when you taught me something, when you were going to teach me something, I'm going to learn it.
Okay.
When Pete Carroll got to Minnesota and put in bump and run, and we're starting to take the step punch, and I'm doing it, and I'm thinking, man, I can do this. It wasn't hard for me.
You picked it up.
I was picking it up. I called my mom and I was telling, because I was calling her through camp and stuff, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I think I can do this. I said, and I think I can be good at it.
Yeah.
And there was a dude from University of Miami. His name was John Swain, and he had been the starter for 3 years prior to me. And bro, like, bro, I was targeting him. he was the guy in my way.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who told me, slow down on the conditioning. I was like, bro, no, I can't slow down. I ain't got nowhere to go. I can't go home. This is all I got.
Yeah.
That ain't saying welcome home. No, you better find your way.
Yeah.
And so I put everything into it, and I had my football IQ. I'm not going to say was high. It was eager. It was eager it was eager to tell me something. Show me something. Show me something I don't know.
So you was a sponge. You
just give it. Yeah, if you give it to me, man, I'm trying to take it and do the best I can with it.
See, it's such an interesting, and I know we kind of running tight on time, like a juxtaposition between you and Randy Moss. Like, you both guys from the Valley, opposite ends of the Valley.
Yeah, you
have kind of opposite ends entering college. One's highly touted. You're kind of, not that you're just sneaking your way in, but you're
basically
you're a guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You both, obviously, he just explodes on the Marshall. They win titles, they win games. You would have that same explosion. It doesn't transfer to wins. I think probably the nature of the position that you're playing as well, and just the career paths that you both had. It's a very interesting juxtaposition, because I think that I'm not questioning his work ethic at all, but I think maybe his work ethic maybe caught on later, where he really knew, okay, I got to turn it all the way up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But maybe not. I don't know. But it just having that sort of same work ethic to maintain yourself in the league, and just to have these great careers coming from essentially the same place and almost, a similar path, even going to the Vikings out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just that whole thing.
I think to your point of trying to compare the two.
Not necessarily comparing. Just looking at the walks. It's just.
I think his wasn't desperate. He didn't have to be desperate in his.
I would challenge you on that.
And I know why you would.
It wasn't that way at first, but when you obviously going through his trials and tribulations, that ended up at Marshall, that's sort of a desperate situation.
But I'm
and
saying
he
when
was
he got
playing
to
like a madman.
Yeah, but I'm saying his talent.
Yeah.
His talent. Everybody could see his talent.
Yeah.
So him going from Marshall to the league was clear.
I don't think so. I'm saying talent. Obviously, we're not even questioning that. He's the greatest athlete, one of the greatest athletes of all time. But I'm just saying, because of the trials and tribulations that he went through, you going for Marshall, it gave people pause, and I think maybe even to himself or whoever else, maybe he did have to prove something. I don't know, but it seemed like he was playing like that, because he was playing lights out there, Marshall.
Yes.
Absolutely insane. I've never seen a 2-year run. Like I was looking at his stat sheet, scores like 50, 60 touchdowns in like 28 games. I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? So I think, to your point, and if you want to talk about a comparison, I think you both had that same sort of, I wouldn't say desperation, but that same sort of need to, like, okay, I'm going to take where I'm at and I'm going to turn it all the way up.
So proving, had a point. That
to prove, yeah.
And there did,
just but starting from different places. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. There was a sense of wanting to prove that you could belong there. Like the moment that you the moment you walk into that locker room and you see your name, Lee, and your number, they can pull that off.
They can pull it off
at any given time. But there's something about the concept of, like, to see that, I want to see that for a long time. Yeah. And I don't want to look at that name and just sit on the stool and just be cool about it and say,
Yeah.
so I'm here. No.
And I think, just like I said, to compare these two guys that's from the Valley, you had one guy that said, I'm gonna have to prove my way all the way up from the dirt to get to this point, and I'm gonna have to. And one guy that said, I'm not going to let what happened to me in the past dictate my future. So it created a fire in both of you. Now I got to talk about. You go to the league, you make team, and you get number 39. Now, I love these weird numbers. Like Michael Irvin had 47 as a receiver in college, and I think more guys should get number 47. Forget the cool numbers. I like that. When I think of number 47, I think of Michael Irvin. When I think of number 39, I think of Carl Lee. So how did that come about?
But it was just in my locker. Like
so they just tossed it to you.
Dennis Ryan was the equipment guy. Me and him got to be really super close. I looked at that number and I was like, 39?
39, baby.
I ain't have no interest in the number, but Lee was on top of it.
So it ain't matter.
And so I'm like, I can't be mad at that.
Yeah, I loved it.
And
though.
And I love it too.
Ain't nobody else 39. When you think of anybody else, it's just you.
Yeah, I
can think of 47. You think of Michael Irvin as far as a receiver.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I think Joey Browner was 47.
Yeah, I mean, and you had Steve Atwater. I think of some other guys in the league. But I'm just saying, when you have those sort of awkward numbers that people just didn't necessarily associate with anything, it's just like I can't understand why anybody in basketball would get number 23. Like, I don't want that number.
No.
23, 24.
You can't hold up to that number.
Yeah, just let that go. Create your own, though. Yeah, make your own. Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get off here. Hollis, I think that was a great interview.
Yeah, there you go.
You could be the host. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. So we appreciate you joining us, and we'll be back again soon.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.